Welcome to episode 6 of Podshots, the show where we discuss popular topics at the same time as knocking back shots of our favorite alcoholic drinks. On this episode, we're discussing something our audience voted for, college survival. Now, Brandon and I both have very different experiences with higher education as we're on separate sides of the Atlantic. So this was a fun and insightful conversation with definitely a few laughs along the way. Lastly, I want to remind you that there's only 2 days left to join the Masterclass raffle we're throwing, where the winner gets 1 year's free access. Masterclass is an online learning platform with a twist. Its professors are all celebrities, from Samuel L. Jackson and Gordon Ramsay to Bobby Brown and Sarah Blakely. You get to learn from world-renowned experts how they do what they do. So visit our podshots.live Instagram account to see the entry requirements in our feed. And let's get the show on the road. Thank you, and we will see you on the next one. We definitely had an issue getting aligned again on this episode.
Yeah, we did.
We kind of talked, we agreed on sake, because it was a lot lighter this time.
I think we agreed on the country of Japan.
Yeah, it ended up that way. So you've got sake.
So we were going to start off with sake, guys. So from my end, I ended up getting this Ozeki sake. I probably butchered that, but it is sake. And I did have a little taste of it last night to see what I was getting into, and I will save it for the reaction.
Right.
But it is a premium junmai. I don't know what that means. Probably butchered that too. I don't know what these letters are. Someone please tell me what those letters are. And this is the finest sake in the U.S. This is a U.S. sake.
Is it?
So I don't know. Maybe there's some Japanese guy and gal that make sake in the U.S., or maybe some heavy fat white dude in the U.S. is ripping them off. I really don't know what's going on, but this is a U.S. sake since 1711.
Whoa.
Wow.
Hey,
That's,
hold on a second.
That's a ways back, bro.
That's interesting. So it's actually made in the U.S. is what you're saying?
Yeah, it says the finest sake in the U.S.
Since 1711?
Well, hold on, let me make sure it's made in the U.S. It says in the U.S., so I assume it means made in the U.S.
Well, that is interesting. If that is indeed founded in the U.S., that's a pretty old Japanese business in the U.S.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well, this explains the flavor. I just looked at the food pairings, so I will talk about that after I do a shot. But it is only 16% alcohol, so it's not going to get me wasted.
Damn, but you are lucky tonight, my friend.
But this does have a funky flavor. Oh, yeah. Produced and bottled by Ozeki. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how to pronounce it. Japanese people, don't kill me. Sake, USA Inc., Hollister, California. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because I would have understood if it was, if the origin was the wartime, because a lot of Japanese Americans went over there, I think. Hold on, am I getting this right? Am I getting my history right?
Yeah, you're right. There were a lot of Japanese Americans in World War II that were on the West Coast, namely in areas of California.
But 1711 is quite early.
That is very early. That's actually predating. That's predating the founding of the U.S. So I'm kind of wondering what that means. Maybe this was a company originating in Japan that came to the U.S. Possibly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
We're going to look that up at some point. We're going to go to where is it? I just saw it. Ozekisake.com.
Okay, you have got sake. I have got Suntory, which is one of the biggest distilleries in Japan. It doesn't just do alcohol. It does coffee. It does soft drinks, but they're known for their whiskeys. This whiskey's called Toki, and I don't know what that means either, but it's 43% alcohol, which is crazy. I didn't actually expect that. And it's a beautiful bottle. It's like a rectangular bottle and very Japanesey, I guess. I think.
I've heard some good things about Japanese whiskey. I really have.
Japanese. I mean, I wish I could tell you the difference between like the UK whiskey and the Japanese whiskey or the American whiskeys. But I do really like Japanese whiskeys. They do quite flavorful whiskeys, and they're kind of very fine as well. They're not too powerful. They don't like blow your head off like Jameson, for example, blows my head off. But,
Jameson's a nice, smooth, fine gentleman's drink. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can do that for sure. And I agree with you. I think it's a good look.
Well, this is the problem with the show. We abuse these beautiful,
we do abuse
elegant drinks by taking shots when we should be having just a glass. But that would defeat the purpose of pod shots.
Right.
We're not doing pod sips. We're doing pod shots.
I've come to accept that this is just what we do now. This is our profession, so I need to take it seriously, which means not drinking more than I should on the day of the show. So I abstain. I have abstained since like episode 3 for the whole week until the actual day of the show, and that's when I drink.
Well, you might enjoy that Japanese whiskey there, buddy. Mine might not be high in terms of alcohol percentage, but there is a bold taste in this, and I'll explain it after I do a shot. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna enjoy doing too many of these, but I gotta do it anyways, guys.
Well, they say kanpai in Japanese to say cheers, so kanpai.
Cow pie. Tink.
Kanpai. Not cow pie. That's totally different.
Okay. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Tink. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a very powerful one. But it's very tasty. Like, the funny thing is, this is 43 compared to, I think, 40 of the other whiskeys that we tried. And this one just goes down a treat. Like, it's really interesting. Like, that's what I was saying to you. It's a finer whiskey in terms of how smooth it is. And I'll let you taste it in Colombia. But
well, they do have recommended serving temperatures for this sake. Everything from chilled to hot. Like, they recommend it chilled or warm.
Yeah. Or
maybe even at room temperature, but definitely not super hot. But I wonder if this is good warm. I want to try that at some point. But, this has, I got to be honest, a fishy taste to it.
Really?
And I was having a little bit last night, and like the first impression was, it's kind of got like a wine taste to it. And then it settled in. I'm like, oh my God, I can taste a fish in my mouth.
Fish? That is...
I don't know. It's got a weird fishy taste. Food pairings, though. Sashimi. I don't know how to say that. Sushi, tempura, pickled vegetables, grilled fish, and then barbecue, which is so random. Everything is like barbecue and pickled vegetables. I don't know, but everything else is fish that you pair this with. Right. So maybe there's a reason for the fishy taste. It doesn't really say, though.
Yeah, but the Japanese, they eat so much fish, man. They're pillagers of the sea.
I know.
Yeah, but they do eat a lot of fish, so I'm not surprised. But sake, I remember sake being fishy. But anyway,
Asia's a funny place, man. You got Japan pillaging the sea. You got China pillaging
the world,
the wildlife markets, eating bats and shit.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why they do that stuff over there.
I didn't either. And then I watched a documentary by Vice, which I really like, by the way. I love the way that they tackle journalism. They're very undercover, and
Vice has some good shows.
Yeah, they do some really good independent journalism, and they go after very difficult subjects. So one of the subjects they did was, why does China have this wild meat industry? And so I read it, and turns out that the Communist Party back in the 70s was struggling to feed the nation. And they realized this, and they gave up, and they said, look, you can have your own farms, and if you don't have a lot of money, you can get wildlife. You can get whatever you need, whatever you can, and sell that. So that's when the wildlife trade started. They started to get all of these weird animals and start selling them for money. And then over time, it became associated somehow through clever marketing with, any number of strange claims, like it will fix your erectile dysfunction or make you that's a common one, right? Apparently tiger soup makes men very fertile.
I had a college friend, since I think we're talking about college survivalism today, but this is a story. I had a friend who came from a very wealthy family. Dude had like a Ferrari in college. It was ridiculous. He's from China, came from a wealthy family. A good friend of mine, my senior year, he took me to Chinatown to an authentic Chinese restaurant where we did not have fried rice, but we had organs.
Yeah. Okay.
And
do you remember what they were? Like what
they served me a chicken liver and a chicken heart.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, yeah, fair enough.
I know, but it's I don't know why they eat these things, but he was telling me that it's good for your vitality, like your libido and stuff like that. And I was like, so you're telling me if I eat this chicken heart, I'll be better in bed?
Now, I think I
don't know about that stuff.
I think there is some truth, obviously, to certain foods being good for certain things in, your body or characteristics or traits or whatever of everyday life. Yeah. Right. And so because of that, we're taught to drink milk because it's high in calcium, whatever. But they make some outlandish claims, right? And that's the problem, because now it's not just about nourishing your body. It's about being stratified socially. So the wealthy people start to get really heavily invested in things like tigers. I don't know about bats, but the more exotic the wildlife is, the more expensive it is, and the more people will pay for it. And that's the issue. It's become I don't know how many, if it's trillions or billions, it's probably billions, but it's a multi-billion-dollar industry right now. And the lobbying power is super, super strong in government. And that's why it's difficult to get rid of it. Now, I'm sure the Chinese government know this, and they want to do something about it, but it's part of the economy.
I'm telling you, something's going to be done about it. If millions of people end up dying from COVID worldwide, there's going to be some serious pressure to, kill these wet markets, because it's a petri dish of disaster. Yeah. A lot of these diseases actually come out of these wet markets too.
Yeah.
SARS, bird flu, all that kind of shit. You shouldn't be eating animals like that or mixing animals like that. You don't put a bat next to a ferret. Like, it's just some weird stuff they do.
Don't try to make them friends, okay? It's not important enough for them to be friends.
Especially when they eat organs, though. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I ate that chicken liver, and it was super powdery. It was just disgusting. I don't know why anyone would eat a chicken liver. And then that chicken heart.
Oh, because it's not just the Chinese. Like, we eat chicken liver here. We eat lamb's liver. Liver's a big thing. Actually,
I guess so.
We eat organs here. Actually, we do.
But a chicken's heart? It was so squishy.
Sometimes, yeah.
It was so squishy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. I don't like it. I don't like eating chicken heart, but I eat liver. I think liver is very good for you. It's probably, it's apparently the most nutrient dense food. Now, this could be totally another conversation. This could be an episode on.
I think when it comes to nutrient dense foods, I don't think an organ necessarily qualifies when you compare it to, like the meat of an animal, and especially the right animal, because that's where you get all the nutrition, you get all the protein. It's good for brain development. Like elk, for example. Like elk is it's kind of sweeter, but it's also like a much more nutritious meat. It's a wild animal, but it's not like a weird animal. Like, it's an animal people have been killing and eating for a long time. Or eating deer or something like that.
I do like the idea of having wild meat from hunting and things, but I don't live anywhere that I could really do that. Unfortunately, I'll have to wait. But let's say we're both in I don't know if you could probably do this in Colombia, but if we're both in the US at the same time, we should go hunting. That would be pretty fun.
We could. I've actually never done it, but I would be down. I would be down for the experience. Like, it'd be cool to hunt a turkey and then eat the turkey, or to hunt an elk and then eat the elk. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't need to eat something. I don't need to eat something crazy, but like things that people have been hunting and eating for a long time. Like, it's different than eating a domesticated animal.
Oh, absolutely.
Something that's bred and killed in captivity, that never learns to fight for itself, that doesn't have the same body mass or muscle mass, that, eats differently than a wild animal who is going to have a more nutritious, body system and meat overall. That's usually why elk tastes so much better too. And it's a lot sweeter. I don't know if sweeter is the right word, but it almost melts. It's a softer meat. But it's so much better for you. Yeah, it's so much better for you. I've also had bison. That is really good shit.
I think the only time I ever had elk was at IKEA. I was in IKEA. They sell elk. What do you call them?
Yeah,
almost like cured meat, and it was pretty difficult to eat. But I think it's because it's not the real thing. It's processed.
You don't want it processed. What you want to do is you want to find a local butcher. It's a lot easier like in a town where hunting's pretty common. So like in my hometown, there's a lot of it's known for hunting. People will go out, they'll hunt deer, elk, things like that, and they'll bring it back to a local butcher. Butcher will, do his thing, keep a portion or a profit for himself. And then you have tons and tons of meat that just lasts you forever.
Right.
And it's a lot fresher, cleaner, more natural than having a commercialized product. I think there's some rules against like commercialized elk meat and things like that. That's why you don't see it in the stores very often.
I gotcha.
So that's kind of why you got to buy it locally. But if you have a local butcher, that's the best place to buy meat, even if it is just beef or chicken or something like that. Like, it's just so much better, so much more fresh. And you get better cuts too. And you can ask for better cuts, so you don't have to just get the standard chicken breast in the store, or the standard ground beef in the store. You can get like very specific cuts. Yeah, at better prices too.
I can't wait. I think my first experience hunting is going to be hopefully a good one. I need to learn how to shoot first. Obviously, that would be a good thing, because I don't think I'll be able to kill it with my bare hands. But yeah, we should probably have some lessons first. I think they
choose your character. Ready? Fight.
Yeah. But that's going to be really good. I'm excited about it. But dude, man, going back to college, it's not actually. So let's just clarify. So college in the US is just college, or is that college and university, or is that both? Is that both things?
So there's college and there's university. Universities are generally bigger and are generally public schools. So when you use college usually is smaller and is sometimes a private school.
Right.
There's not a huge difference between the term college and university. It's just, what they kind of choose to name their school. But there's a huge difference between public and private, and a lot of that has to do with loans, student loans, funding, things like that. You have different rights. So like a public school has more obligation to follow like constitutional law and things like that, whereas a private school can set their own terms and things like that. So there's some there's a lot of political talk and debate on that, scholastic talk and debate.
This is where we differ a little bit, because public, for some strange reason, in the UK means private. And we do say private sometimes, but most of the time it's referred to as public. And then we have state schools. So that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually the state schools in the US are universities, but it doesn't have to be. But yeah, that's a general take on it. There's not like a good classification.
Yep. And you went to college, right?
No.
University?
No.
State?
Yes, of course. I went to college.
I was like, okay, if you didn't go to that one and you didn't go to that one, then where the fuck did you go?
Like, well, you didn't go to college, you didn't go to university. Where did you go?
Well,
yes, I went to a college. Technically, I went to the University of Pitzer.
Pitzer, where's that?
It's in California, Claremont, California.
Okay.
And it's part of a consortium of colleges. So there are 5 colleges literally in walking distance from each other, across from each other. So even though the colleges are generally small, it feels like a very large university because they all share the same resources.
Right. Gotcha.
Same sporting teams, events, and things like that. So I went to Pitzer College, but I didn't just take classes at Pitzer College. I took classes at Pomona, Scripps, Harvey Mudd, Claremont McKenna. So it's kind of weird. Like I've taken more classes outside of my actual college than I have at my college, yet my degree says I went to Pitzer.
Oh.
So yeah. So a lot of times I'll just say that I went to the Claremont colleges because to me, it doesn't make sense. It's like when you take so many classes at other colleges and you graduate, but your degree says you're from Pitzer instead of Pomona, it feels weird. It's like, to me, it makes no sense. Like it should almost, they should have like if they're going to be a consortium, they just should have a consortium degree or something like that, because there's a lot of kids that want to go to Pomona. Pomona is a very famous and old college, and it's like Ivy League type status, whereas Pitzer is up there, but it's a brand new college. So a lot of people will try and get into Pomona before they get into Pitzer because you get Pomona on your degree, and it just looks better just because it's so old and well known. But even if you don't go to Pomona, and you go to like the Pitzer or Scripps or Harvey Mudd or Claremont McKenna or whatever, you can still take a whole bunch of classes at Pomona, no problem. Learn everything at Pomona, practically live at Pomona, and you get your degree from Pitzer.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. It's just, to me, it makes no sense. It's like I'm getting like an Ivy League education, but on my degree, I'm not getting that benefit.
But if you had applied to, you applied to Pitzer and then you got accepted?
Yeah, I applied to Pomona and to Pitzer, and it was because they were recruiting me for football.
Right.
And I submitted my application for both. And then when the coaches looked at it, they're like, well, Pomona dorms are getting full, so we're just going to cancel your Pomona application and push you for Pitzer. Yeah, and then push you on the Pitzer side. And I'm like, well, that's kind of fucked up. Like I'm happy that I get to play and you're helping me get in anyways. But it's kind of stupid that you just, throw away my application for the college that I'd rather go to just so I can get in and, play football for you.
Yeah.
There's something kind of fucked up about that. But
that is kind of
either way, I still got to take classes there. Still got to, pretty much go there.
So
I spent more time at Pomona than I did Pitzer.
Right.
In my entire college career.
You would think that they had some kind of mechanism in place to kind of weigh it out and say, okay, shit, he's actually spent more time there, so we're going to have to say he got his degree from there. But, all of that stuff is so hard to manage. The system, I'm sure, has layers and layers of bureaucracy. So, yeah.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Especially when you have a consortium of colleges, then all their rules get intermixed and it becomes a huge problem because one college will believe one thing and another college believes another. And if you're at one college partying, but you go and you're enrolled at a different college, how do you enforce those rules? Like if you do something wrong, or if you want to set up an event or if you, I don't know. It just, everything's kind of jumbled up in that way. It was an incredibly unique experience.
It's a pretty cool thing to experience though, when you don't have to be limited to just one, because I'm assuming the cultures are different too. So I don't know, it could become quite cabin feverish if you have to spend 3 years in the same place or more. So that must have been nice actually thinking about it.
There's a huge diversity of how people think. So like Pitzer is incredibly liberal and progressive. And Claremont McKenna is incredibly conservative. So those colleges butt heads with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Scripps is an all-girls college, so you can weigh the benefits there.
Yeah.
So I definitely took a lot of classes at Scripps.
If it's an all girls, and how the hell are you allowed to take classes there? That doesn't make any sense.
Historically, Scripps College was girls only, so men were not allowed to be on campus. Men were not allowed to take classes there. It was exclusively for women. But they loosened that up over the years. So now that it's still an all girls college, so only girls are allowed to get enrolled there. But men can still take classes there. Men can still hang out there if they're escorted by a woman. Men can go to the dining halls there.
If they're escorted by a woman, hold on a second.
So like you can, as a man, you can explore the campus and do anything. Like any of the women can do on campus at Scripps, from going to the dining hall, taking classes, using facilities. But if you want to go to their dorms, or you want to go to like their pool or something like that, that stuff is off limits for men unless you're escorted by a woman.
That makes no sense. Like, what are you going to be? Just sitting there in the pool by yourself?
I don't know. They like having that exclusivity for women, but there's a benefit to having friends that are girls at Scripps. So you learn that very quickly, and then you get to hang out there a lot more, because that's where all the women are. Harvey Mudd, one of the other colleges, is the nerdy, crazy college. They're an engineering school, and they're actually very famous in the US for their engineering. Like, they're on par with like MIT.
Right.
So they're incredibly in-depth, detailed. They also have the best food too. Oh my God, their dining hall was amazing. Almost all the dining halls there were incredible, but they had the best food. They had the best burgers. They had the best pancakes and waffles. They had tons of different kinds of cereal. Right. They had the best brunch on Sundays. Oh my God.
Damn. And you lived on campus, right?
Yeah. I lived in the dorms at Pitzer College, which was where I was enrolled, but it's literally walking distance from everything. Like, I can walk 100 feet across the field and I'm at Harvey Mudd. I can walk south about a quarter mile and I'm at Pomona. I could walk west a quarter mile, I'm at Scripps. So everything was super, super close. So it wasn't like campus was too big. In fact, I'd have to walk, since Pitzer was in one corner of the 5 colleges and Pomona was on the bottom corner of the 5 colleges, I had to walk that distance every single day to go to practice for football.
That's good. That's good.
So
you need that.
So it was a good 20-minute walk down, 20-minute walk back every single day, but it was uphill. Oh my God. After practice, you'd walk 20 minutes up a hill back to your college.
I didn't appreciate it at the time. But now looking back, that kind of exercise, man, you need that in your day.
Yeah. 4 years of that makes Medellin look like nothing. So
I'm prepared.
You think you got hills here? You've never been to Claremont.
Yeah. So you're going to rent a place that's right next to the gym and the office potentially.
Yeah. It's already rented.
I'm probably going to rent a little bit further away so that I have to walk every day, and I force myself to do that.
Dude, there's a lot of good deals right now in Medellin. I was just looking at Airbnb alone the other day. They slashed the prices, some of them in half. Like, there's some damn good apartments that are like over $1,000. They're like $500-600 now a month. God, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think this is going to be a brilliant time for people who are not troubled in spending cash. So just like every other
no one's able to travel right now during quarantine. So all these Airbnbs are just sitting vacant. So they slash all the prices.
It's a shame, man. It's such a shame, but at the same time, it's
an opportunity. Right side. Time to take a shot. Time to take a shot. Let's take a shot.
Intermission.
Guys,
I'm actually really happy I picked this one. This whiskey is not. Toki is actually a vivid blend of carefully selected Japanese whiskeys, silky with a subtle, sweet and spicy finish. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's tasting like going down my mouth. But 3.
Yeah, I'm sliding a fish down my throat right now.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Kanpai.
Tink.
Surprisingly easy. Still got a bit of a kick. 43% ain't a joke, man.
Nemo just went down my throat.
Poor Nemo.
Yeah. I'm going to find him later.
So, like, that sounds incredibly interesting. Genuinely sounds incredibly interesting. And I definitely got a lot more questions for you. But
yeah, fire away.
Show you what it was like on this side of the pond. It was, you kind of get the impression, I'm sure, of the traditional British kind of environment in schools. It's very stiff. It's very,
I think Oxford.
Right.
I think Oxford.
You think kind of proper, you know, people dressed in like suits with strange emblems on them and ties, like Harry Potter kind of thing.
Yeah, like boarding school.
Yeah, and that's really what public schools are like here. But when you get to university and college, so college and university in the UK are like this. College is like an intermediary. It can be an intermediary step between going from school to university, or you can just go to college. But generally speaking, universities are where you can get like more advanced qualifications, and then colleges are where you can get like more, you know, like the lower end of the spectrum, up to degrees and things.
Right.
Yeah, so it is a lot more traditional and proper and things and probably a lot less exciting as well. I mean, when I went to university, it's probably different for me because I grew up in a small town in the northeast of England, and I was pretty much the only Chinese guy in my school, in my year in school. So, you know, the diversity wasn't there. And I was kind of really very eager to go out and explore. So when I got to London, which is where I went to university for the first time, I was blown away by how diverse the culture was. So in London, you know, if you go down the street, there's only like 1 in 5 people are actually Caucasian. It's that diverse. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I didn't really study that much just because I think I felt quite resentful about the whole experience of being thrust into higher education without really knowing what the hell I wanted to do, which I think is a lot of the same people have that same frustration. So I didn't really end up studying that much, and instead I ended up partying a lot and meeting girls and things. So that was also very helpful though, because it helped me learn quickly about life outside of my comfort zone. But yeah, the actual university I went to was Middlesex University, and Middlesex University is in the north of London, and kind of similar to what you're explaining. There's a bunch of different campuses, which are quite distant in some cases. So like, you know, the London Underground is like a subway, right? And you could hop on one line and take a couple of stations and get to the next campus, or you could walk between some campuses. I wouldn't say they have different cultures because it's all the same school. And I didn't stay in the dorms, so I have no idea really what the culture was truly like on campus. But I don't know. I think I would have liked to have stayed in the dorms. Instead, I ended up kind of sharing private accommodation with just random guys. I think there was one girl throughout the whole time that I was staying in London that I had like a roommate.
I can tell that.
No, I didn't know. Well, the attraction just wasn't there, but it was the only time that feminine energy ever entered my home through the whole time. Like, that's not true. There was many times, but staying in my home was the.
I had a lot of feminine energy when I was in college. Not for me, but because I was living with women. So my junior year in college, I didn't know who I wanted to live with. And me and my friend, I'm not going to use names. Me and one of my friends that was a girl were like, okay, let's live together because we're both, in sciences. We can study. It works, makes sense. I'm like, all right, let's do that. And then they pair you up in a suite. So a dorm is for 2 people, and then 2 dorms are connected to each other. So it's a suite. So technically, you live with 4 people.
Yeah.
So me and this girl were like, okay, let's just live together. It makes sense. We're both science classes, whatnot. We can help each other. Work out, be focused junior year. Great. So they put us through this lottery based on our student ID cards. And for some reason, because I was living with a girl, they probably thought I was gay. So they paired me up with 2 more girls. So my junior year, a lot of my friends were trying to figure out how I pulled this off, because guys aren't supposed to be living with girls, even though you can if you identify as being gay or something like that. So I ended up living with 3 women for an entire year.
Did you play that card at any time? Did you kind of think, I'm going to play this card for a while just to see what happens? Or were you just...
No, I literally thought I was just going to end up with 2 guys, but I ended up with 2 other girls.
Was that the first year, or was that for the whole period?
The whole year. My whole junior year. Right, so for a whole year. Right. And they were all hot too. I was living with a hot Hawaiian, a hot African-American girl, and a hot Brazilian girl.
Hawaiian, Brazilian, and that is like the United Colors of Benetton in that house, including you. What the?
I know.
That's so lucky. You are so lucky, bro.
I know a lot of people said that too. And they were just like, dude, how do you pull that off? How'd you do that? I got to do that next year. How'd you pull off that? And I'm just like, I don't know. I think they thought I was gay. And I ended up living with 3 women. And then, everything's so much better when you live with 3 women, because they clean everything. They constantly bring food back.
Stereotype.
They're wonderful escorts for parties. They're wonderful if you want to throw a party, because everyone wants to come hang out with the 3 hot, diverse women. I don't know. It was just a great year. It's fantastic.
You have had an incredible first year, I must tell you. My first year was basically fighting over who was going to have to clean that week. And when I cleaned, oh my God, man, it was the worst thing ever. We had to scrape wild mushrooms out of a shower.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah, they had our shower was so bad that it had mushrooms growing in the corner.
Well, what kind of mushrooms are we talking about?
Dude, man, I didn't even look at them twice, man. I just got rid of them straight away. That's how bad it got. I think it's because, I think I remember now. I think the reason why it got that bad was because my pride was so big that I didn't want to give in. And because I'm quite a clean person, right, by nature, in terms of organization and just wanting to live somewhere that's relatively well kept. But I didn't want to fucking be the one to just say, right, I know it's your turn to clean, but I'm going to clean because I can't stand this shit. You're not doing it, so I'm going to do it. I didn't want to do that, so my pride got in the way. And then mushrooms started growing, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to clean. I can't live with this. Yeah,
I've never had mushrooms or any other kind of wild fauna growing in my dorm.
Dude, but believe me, that was the only time. But it was a strange experience, to say the least.
I did have a battle with ants one time.
Yeah.
One of the worst things to deal with is when you have an ant problem, because they just keep coming and coming. So my freshman year, my first year in my dorms, I was living with this dude, and we brought back a bunch of food from our dining hall, saved it for the next day, woke up the next morning, and all of a sudden ants were just marching into our room, going after as much food as possible.
What kind of ants are these? Are these the small ants or the big?
Yeah, the black ants. Ants.
Yeah.
And they just kept marching in, and we kept trying to sweep them out, kill them, try and lay down some traps. They just walk right around the traps. I'm like, these are some smart fucking ants. We got so desperate that he started, we had baby powder. So we're coating the floor with baby powder, hoping that would deter the ants. And there was like lines of baby powder. I remember our RA walking in on our dorm to check on us one time, and there's a line of baby powder on the floor. We were all on the ground. And she just gave us this look like, that better not be drugs.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But I think you need ant powder for that. Yeah. I remember an ant problem too.
We were desperate. All we had was baby powder.
Yeah, man, infestations are no joke. Like you really need to do, like I've had a few infestations. I had a fruit fly infestation a few times, which is so annoying because it's not like you just have to watch where you're walking. It's like they're flying in your face all the time. So
yeah, they're just attention seekers too. They're just like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me.
I read something about this because I was so irritated by the fact that they were always trying to fly in my eye, right? And you kind of like think, well, that's probably just because now and again they go and accidentally fly into your eye. No. I read about it. It's because they can detect moisture, and they're going for your eyes because it's got moisture, and that's the reason why it always feels like they're going for your eye, because they actually are.
You're saying I should stop blinking and dry out my eyes?
Well, you could do that, or you could just try. It is hard to get rid of them, though, man. But
it is.
And I ended up taking I was pretty wild, man. Like I was just a really young, reckless dude. I had an ant infestation once. I took an aerosol spray for deodorant can.
Yeah.
And a lighter, and I just flamethrowed the entire. I know it's awful, and I wouldn't do that now, but at the time, my reckless previous past self, I was just like, I've never tried a flamethrower before. I'm going to give it a shot because these guys are going to die anyway. And I did it, and it smelled like burned deodorant for like weeks. So,
I got some really powerful, what works well with essential oils, and I got. I think it was like eucalyptus or peppermint. Oh, peppermint, I think. Like they hate certain strong smells. So I had put that in a big bottle, shake it up with some water, and spray it everywhere constantly, like twice a day.
Nice.
The entire place smelled like peppermint. Yeah. But it eventually helps keep them away too. Like every time I saw them like try and creep back out, I'd spray them again. They'll just... Yeah, and sometimes they'll take back with them too, and then if you can lay out some traps. Sometimes the traps work. Sometimes they just go right around the fucking trap.
Yeah, the sad thing is, really, the only way to get rid of them properly, you gotta kill the queen, is to use this specialized powder, and they carry it with them to the nest because they get covered in it. And then it kills the nest, and you're like, oh, it's pretty brutal, but it's the only way to get rid of them.
Yeah, well, you have to. The ant traps usually work the best when they take the bait, because they'll take the bait back to their nest, and then the queen will get it. And if the queen dies, and then the colony dies.
Then the colony dies. So it's so brutal, man. It's like
it is. I had a bee infestation too. Those are the worst.
Shit. Dude,
yeah, because they don't like.
We ended up here, but this is proper like Nat Geo.
Nat Geo, will you sponsor us?
We're talking about how to get rid of infestations, but this is part of the college survival. It is. It's true. You have to find a way to get rid of your unwanted wild neighbors coming in.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Well, we could get back to college here.
No, I mean, this is part of it.
Kind of.
I was staying in private accommodation the whole time, so I kind of dotted around in London. I think the cool thing about private accommodation compared to the dorms, obviously, is that you get to have your own, more private space, I would say. Mm-hmm. But you kind of like you sacrifice that whole community, really tightly knit community, even if you hate some people and you have to keep bumping into them. I think overall it's quite a nice experience to be just part of a family almost.
Yeah.
So I did sacrifice that, but I met some really nice people, some really cool friends, and I still know them today. I'm part of a WhatsApp group, for example, and we just keep getting loads of, every time I look at my media library on my phone, it's full of shit. Like, I'll see videos and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I realize it's come from that group. It's just my old uni friends just sending ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, we have groups like that too. And every once in a while we'll stir the pot on something or talk about college or what we're doing now. Those are always fun.
Yeah. Did anyone from your college, go on to do super great things, or how did your friends kind of?
Some of them, yeah. A lot of them, no.
Yeah, right.
I have a lot of friends from college that, are stuck, a year out of college, 2 years, 3 years out of college. They are trying to find a job. They can't find one, or, they don't like what they're doing, or they wish they changed their degree. And a lot of time they'll reach out to me too, because they'll see that I'm doing just fine. I'm traveling, doing normal things, having a social life, and they'll reach out to me and they'll be like, what are you doing? How have you been? How did you do that? And I'm like, you haven't talked to me in 3 years and now you want my opinion.
Right.
Some people are weird like that, but the thing I'll say is like, well, you decide to study art or, or you decided to study social sciences or something like that when you should have studied something more concrete. So that's on you, number one.
Okay,
number two.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Because this is a controversial statement. Because
there are people that will graduate in philosophy, or people that will graduate in political debate, or people that will graduate in like painting butterflies.
Okay. Painting.
Because my college is super liberal, so they'll be super flexible with degrees. But I mean, yeah, it's great that you are passionate about that and want to study it, but that's a hobby. Like if you're going to college to build a skill, some people that's for a job to start a business or to create something. If that's not your ultimate goal, and then what you're doing in college and learning about ends up just becoming an enhanced hobby. And they will study things for 4 years, get a degree, and then realize that it's something they can't apply in real life. And that part's partially on them. Part of that's partially on the college for pushing that onto them and encouraging it, and not creating the opportunities for them to get a job or to build a business or something outside of college.
Right. But so what you're saying though, is that if you, let me try and get this straight. So if you're saying if they want to have the lifestyle that you have, for example, right? Because that's why they're contacting you, right? Because they look at your stories or your whatever content, and they're like, how does he do it? Then perhaps they should have studied something a little bit more economically practical. Is that right? That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to be careful when I say that, because I studied neuroscience and I was planning on medical school and going through all that, and I didn't end up doing it. But there's a lot of things in neuroscience and in the sciences that I took away that have been very beneficial to me, especially in crypto and blockchain, and being able to analyze and run software, and build applications and things like that, which has made me money, which has started to turn into a career for me. So I can't necessarily say that my neuroscience degree wasn't helpful at all, but I did have to use it in a more creative way. But that's me having an idea though of what I wanted to do before, and then having an idea of how I can take those skills within my degree and then put it towards something I'm passionate about. Yeah. Whereas they're getting these degrees that aren't beneficial to them. Like they're skills, but they're not trade skills, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but maybe they're in the same, maybe they just missed that step that you perhaps took or others took. Like, for example, people, there are great people that studied these things. And I can think of, like, for example, one philosopher, Jordan Peterson. He probably studied philosophy at some point. And I can't remember, I think he's mentioned it, but we're talking about essentially trying to find your groove. I'm pretty sure it's not the degree that fucked them up, but just maybe more their outlook. Right. Because I studied a lot of strange stuff as well, but it helped.
Yeah, there's a lot of strange degrees. I truly believe there's a way that you can apply all that stuff to have, lifestyle and career that you want. Yeah. But when you pick a degree like environmentalism, and it's not even a science background, or you pick poetry or philosophy, you're backing yourself into a corner, making it a lot harder. Yeah. I'm just saying, those are not trade skills.
A nomadistic lifestyle for sure, because you need, you know, yeah, you're right. It's much more difficult, I think, to kind of funnel that into something kind of financially viable.
Yeah. Well, here's an issue I have with colleges and universities is they pitch these grandiose degrees, you know, when in reality they should be promoting very specific trade skills. Like if someone wants to be a doctor, you can have any fucking degree under the sun, and you can still apply for medical school as long as it's in some kind of science background. They even open it up to non-science backgrounds too, if you can pass the MCAT.
Yeah.
But you know, you get a whole bunch of people that, like thousands and thousands of students, they'll get these science degrees, apply for medical school, and very, very few will get in. And then the rest of them are stuck there with their dick in their hand and they don't know what to do with it. And they're not taking, so what they should do, like if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, they should just teach you how to be a doctor or a nurse. They shouldn't make you take all these ungodly classes or get degrees that don't make sense for no reason and shove information down your throat that's not going to benefit you. That's like if someone wants to be a doctor, like someone wants to be a doctor or nurse, they should say, okay, here's an 8-year program, complete the 8-year program, get your certification or license, boom, done. And we're not going to bombard you with knowledge that's unnecessary. If you want to be,
kind of wondered why we were getting elective modules in university. I loved them because I fucking hated my course. So I like jumped at the idea of doing something outside of the realm of what I was really supposed to be getting qualified in. But generally speaking, I think
diversity. There's a difference between what we like and versus what we want to do for a career necessarily. And, you know, that hurts people sometimes because you should do for your career what you like. But, you know, when you get to college, you're like, okay, well, this is what I need to do for my career, but I'm passionate about poetry. And a lot of people will separate those two things.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like I think it depends on your way of thinking. I can see the arguments from both sides. Like I've heard the whole, you know, your passion should not necessarily be something that you should aggressively pursue with all of your resources, because it might not be practical at the end of the day. And I can understand that. Definitely, if it's something that's a lot less practical financially. But at the same time, I hear many people talk about, and I also can see this, you know, and agree with it, that's the only thing you should approach with all of your resources, because what the fuck else is the point? So I think it's kind of weighing up the pros and the cons of what would happen if I did go after my passions. Because at the end of the day, someone's going to be listening to this and they're going to be like, well, I don't know what to do. And if we give them both sides of the story, then maybe they can make their own mind up. But I would say, I would personally say go after your passions with everything you've got, because there is a way, at least, that you can learn the peripheral skills that you need to be able to make that financially viable. Like Gary Vee talks about this all the time. He might say something like, it doesn't matter what you're good at. There's a crowd or an audience for that online, and you can create content. You can start your own personal brand around it. And given that's an online thing, it might not be as applicable offline. I mean, who needs you to go and teach them how to, I don't know, train your parrot offline? I mean, it's a very small audience, but
no, I think education in general is starting to change. And I think that has a lot to do with the internet. I think that has a lot to do with, I don't know what you call it, but when you do these gigs or peer-to-peer type learning, there are professors or people with great backgrounds that'll have courses and offer certificates and degrees, independent of any large university. Like it's not accredited stuff, but it doesn't need to be accredited. Accredited is just for getting like a certified degree by your government. It's kind of stupid. It doesn't really make any difference. You're learning a skill one way or another. I mean, there's a lot of better ways to do this stuff. Like, for example, like if you wanted to learn to code, there's different options. Like you could go to a school, go to a college or university for 4 years, and learn computer science and then get a master's and go through all of that to build your skills up. Or you could not spend all that money, not go into all that debt, and still learn those skills outside of that system. Yeah. And there's a lot of great online schools. An even better one is Lambda School. Lambda School will actually educate you for free, just like any college or university online. And then you don't have to pay them back until you get a job that pays a certain amount. Nice. And if you can't get a job over a certain period of time, the debt cancels. If you make like 30 payments in a row, even if they're at a lower amount, it cancels automatically. They have all these programs.
Is that a funded thing, or is that a private?
It's I don't know if it classifies as a school or a company or what, but Lambda School is very interesting, and it's a way of colleges investing in you as a student so that you can be successful and then make money down the line. It takes a business approach, which I think is a lot smarter, because it like encourages you to take a trade skill up and to learn it and to get better at it and to get a job, and they help you get a job. And then once you get that good job, and then they'll ask you to pay back your loans slowly, but it's not like they're going to break you if you can't pay the loans.
Yeah. Nice. That's one of the biggest issues, isn't it, with education as it stands right now, is the kind of back-breaking debt that you get into, especially in the United States, because here in the UK, I mean, those figures that average students are kind of carrying after they finish school are just, to be completely fair, unfathomable for most of us here in the UK. So you guys are carrying like hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt.
These colleges and universities are getting away with murder, essentially. What they're doing is they're using and leveraging these student loans to raise their tuition prices as high as they want.
So that you can just like you can acquire more debt, pay it off, and then you...
the government has pretty much said they have an unlimited supply of money. So like when they're offering student loans, federal student loans to a student to pay for college, the college says, okay, well, if the government's pretty much giving the student to pay us and it's free money based on whatever our tuition is, instead of having $30,000 a year, let's just double it to $60,000 and we'll double all our profit. Why not? It's free money. Government's going to pay for it. So now the student's in a shit ton of debt. The school is making a ton of inflated money. And the government's pumping all this out. And, eventually, if the government can't, keep doing that, or if students can't pay back their student loans, these colleges and these universities will go bankrupt because they're relying on the student loan system. If the student loan system stops existing, or they stop borrowing, or students stop taking them to go to colleges, these colleges collapse.
Well, what do you think is going to happen now? I mean, I think that sounds like a very plausible scenario, given that the COVID has shown us that we can study from home. We can do a lot of things online that we didn't think we could. And I
think people are getting smarter and smarter. I think as millennials have more kids, they're going to teach their kids things that, baby boomer parents didn't teach them, and then their kids will teach their kids something different than millennials taught them. I think that'll progressively occur over this century, over the 21st century.
Dude, I am not going to shed a single fucking tear when the traditional schooling system dies. Honestly, I think that would be a huge step in the right direction.
They're institutions. They're not schools anymore. They're institutions. They're out for profit. They're putting you in debt. They treat students like peons, like pawns in the system that are just, free money for them. Like they really don't care. Like education it's kind of out the window. They even lock in these professors and pay them like ridiculous sums of money, and professors have all kind of rights and stuff compared to student rights on campuses and whatnot. So a professor can teach whatever they want, however they want. They can judge a student however they want. Like if a student is brilliant and doesn't show up to class as much, they could decide to, give them a worse grade. Or if a student is showing up all the time, busting their ass, and still not doing well, they could decide not to give them a good grade. They can make any kind of decision they want because they have so much freedom, and they're getting paid a ton of money, and they're locked in on tenure, which means they can't get fired. It's incredibly hard to fire them.
That sucks,
especially the ones that, if you get on tenure for like a year or two, they can basically do whatever they want.
I remember one of our professors in university, the first university I went to two, but the first university I went to got fired for giving an indecent proposal to a friend of mine, which was quite hilarious because we didn't like him in the first place. So, there was that. But then as soon as we heard what had happened, it was just like, it was something to talk about. You know how you kind of like have these things happen in school. There's something to talk about, something to laugh about. Yeah. But this shit really happens, man. I mean, like, I don't know.
People are people.
Yeah, people are people, and you see it in the movies and the TV shows all the time, and then it happens in real life, and you're like, oh, it's real.
Well, movies and TVs are based off something, and then they continue to encourage people with those ideas.
You say that the college movies and TV shows are accurate?
I'd say from the party perspective, they're pretty accurate.
That's pretty cool. If I could go back in life and do it again, I would probably.
Have you seen The Social Network?
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, the beginning of The Social Network, talking about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. They spend a lot of time at Harvard, like in the dorms. They talk about some of the parties, walk around campus.
It's very pretentious, though, isn't it? That
it is pretentious, but the way they kind of represent it, it's very accurate. Right. Not just from the pretentious side, but from the way they handle parties, the way they, interact in their dorms or at their dining halls, or like just some of the scenes in the movies, they looked very, very college-like.
Right.
Like I can compare it a lot to my college experience. Living like that in your dorm and having different on-campus social issues and stuff like that. It seemed very accurate. And then there's all the clubs and the hazing and the societies and stuff like that.
Did those things do with that shit?
I got a little involved with a society that promotes like some parties and stuff like that.
Right. I feel like I'm treading on thin ice here. Go ahead.
He's on to us, guys. Started a student organization to encourage entrepreneurship on campus. That was fun.
There you go. At least it wasn't encouraging rough anal sex. That was another thing. So
we didn't have chapters at our college. We didn't have a sorority or a fraternity.
Right. Oh, well,
I think you have to it's weird. Like you have to apply and go through a process to get a sorority or university chapter on your campus.
I'm wondering, why don't they just abolish them? What would be the issue because they're obviously associated with a lot of crazy shit.
But they raise money and they do fundraisers, and some of them do good things. Some of them are a little questionable. I think they are so ingrained in college society, it's hard to get rid of it.
Oh, okay.
There's such a huge demand for it. I think there's a lot of support and money behind them.
Kind of like the wildlife industry in China.
Well, some of these chapters are very famous, and some of these societies are very famous that,
what was that
extend
Alpha Pi something. I don't know.
Yeah. Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. Sounds very wholesome.
Yeah. Yale's Skull and Bones.
Yeah. How do you feel like the transition was coming out of that culture into the real world, quote unquote, real world, and just having to, adapt to adult life?
And I had a different way of getting my feet wet with that. So most people, they come out of college, they go home, and then they start looking for a job. Maybe they find a job, they work, and then, stuff gets boring. And then they start realizing life's hard and difficult, and it's not like college, and they miss college. And then they're trying to figure out life, and they hate life, and just a never-ending cycle for people. My experience was different. As soon as college was over for me, I immediately started traveling internationally.
Right. Had you done that before, though?
Not really. Like if you count Canada, I guess. But as soon as I was done with college, I went to Germany. I went to Brazil. Went to Panama. Went to Colombia for the first time. Went to Argentina. Started really getting outside and going to some faraway places that I've wanted to go to, and places where I thought that I could apply a lot of value. Maybe at some point live. Which is how I ended up in Medellin eventually.
You love Asia. You would love it.
I feel like I would love Asia, but I'm so integrated in Latin America right now. I need to figure this out before I go to Asia. But I do want to go. Like I really want to go to Singapore badly.
Yeah, bro, man. I mean, if if it gets to that point, I'll show you around. I'll show you the ropes. It's a great
Absolutely.
It's a great place.
Would love that.
And yeah.
But I think that's what people make the mistake of doing. Like when you're right out of college, you don't necessarily have to jump into a job right away. Like if you have some cash or you have the urge to go travel. I know everyone wants to travel. Go to the places you really want to see or that you think would be eye-opening or that people recommend to you. And I did that, especially with Latin America. Yeah. And it created immense opportunities and friendships for me. And I think 3 years down the line, out of college, it has benefited me far more than just trying to jump in and work immediately.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the difference between having something more dynamic and something more static. Because you're free. Still, you're free. You haven't committed to anything. And if I go back in time and I look at the choices that I made, I chose both things. I took some time to travel, but only after I had dove into a full-time job after university. But it wasn't for long that I realized it's not the right choice. Like I still need to do things. And people don't realize that when they're younger, there's a lot less to worry about because risk isn't really a thing at that point. I mean, you might get hit by a bus, you might get sick, but it's highly unlikely. And the risk of, there's no child involved. Usually you're not usually married or tied down. So you can just go and do whatever you want. And even if you run out of money or you end up on a beach, like naked, drunk, it's not the end of the world. Like you can easily pick up. I did that. No, not lying on a beach naked, drunk, but I ended up in situations many times where I was like, how am I going to get out of this? And then I did, because I'm just so young and I'm so creative and I've got support of my family or whatever. And I don't know, it's a lot easier when you're younger. So I totally agree with you that that's something I think people don't spend too much time thinking about is I don't want to get tied down before I've really gone out there and explored and try to figure out what works for me.
Right. And people should do that. And you should try and live in different places for an extended period of time if you can, whether it's like a month, 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year if you really like it.
Yeah. Good advice.
But, 3 years down the line, doing nothing but traveling and exploring and kind of, broadening my education and then finding an industry that I really like, and then finding a market that's an emerging market too. Like outside the US, most people think that they have to just settle down and go to New York or LA to get a job and stay in the US where everything's expensive and hard to live and hard to hold a job and not making as much money, versus, finding an emerging economy where your trade skill is, in demand and where you can make good money. It's a lot more beneficial. Like, why would I want to have the aspirations to go to New York or LA, or somewhere where everything's super fucking expensive just to do what I do now, and versus being in Medellin where rent is $500 to $800 a month for a nice modern New York style apartment. With a beautiful view in a beautiful city with amazing, fresh, cheap food, plenty of amazing women, tons of friends, plenty to do, major tourist destination, beautiful weather. Like, I don't understand why people would want to get stuck in the stereotype of, I got to go to the big city or I got to do this in my own country because I can't travel internationally. It's just not true. People, they're closed off to that idea, and partially because they've never experienced it. Yeah. And then they get stuck in this rut 3 years later, and they're still in New York or LA or wherever, and It's like, well, I want to travel at some point. It'd be nice to just travel and get away. When the attitude should have been 3 years ago, you just go travel first and then not say I want to get away, but I want to look for opportunity and a good place to put myself.
Yeah. I think people get married to ideas very easily, don't they? If they're not careful, if they don't take the perspective they need, it's very easy to get kind of narrowed into this tunnel vision of this is what I need right now because X, Y, and Z. And it's usually not just you that's the driving force behind that decision. It's usually the people around you. Like, for example, your parents might be a heavy influence on you. Oh, you should go here, or you should go there, or you should stay at home. And that's like really not the best advice usually, because they have their own they have their own agendas. I mean, they want you to stay around, or they want you to do something.
If you're a parent, instead of speaking to the student for a second, speaking to the parents, if you have a son or daughter that's a student or fresh out of college, you should encourage them to travel first.
Absolutely.
So what are they going to do? Live at home and just try and work a job? Or should they go out, and try and have an experience and, maybe, find a better place to, grow some roots and work.
Yeah.
I think everyone's got to realize at some point that most first world countries are struggling right now, especially in the US. And the US is not a good place to be optimistic for the future if you're young.
Absolutely. Look, I'm pretty sure I've not met anyone who's traveled a lot, and not just traveled, because obviously you can go on vacation for a week and come back and do that 20, 30 times in your life and still never really change the way you see the world. But I mean people who've lived in different parts of the world for like months, if not years. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's done that, who hasn't had a more grounded, more objective, and more fulfilled kind of energy and vibe in my life. And that goes to show that it's really important to get outside of your comfort zone and see the world for what it really is. There's nothing more of a turnoff to me when it comes to, not in terms of intimate relationships, I mean just in general, anyone. Like if I come across someone who's incredibly patriotic to the point where it's intoxicating, I just get turned off. Like, I mean, I'm like, why would you be that way? If you really knew what the world was like, you wouldn't be that way, because we're all essentially, the same.
Well, people are shaped by their environment. So, I mean, you grow up and, you don't go to college until you're like 18. You don't get out of college until you're like 22.
Yeah.
And 22 years of your life, you're shaped by your comfort zone, your culture, your economy, your politics, everything. It's incredibly hard for people to break out of that and experience something new with an open mind that maybe this is better. The world is so different depending on where you go. Like Medellin is far different than Las Vegas, far different than Oregon, far different than Los Angeles. Whereas in terms of customs and culture and the way they do things, the way they build their infrastructure, the way they interact with you, it's so different. You get used to living a certain way that when you come to a place like this, for at least your first day, you're in fucking culture shock.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you probably felt that way too when you first got here and you're like, okay, this is very different. Very, very different.
Always that initial step that you have to get over, just like anything in life.
And then, you settle in, you meet some people, they show you the ropes, you get used to the lifestyle, you learn what's okay. And you realize that it was nothing
to be scared of in the first place. Like if you were at least had a little bit of trepidation, which you should have, because it's just human nature. It's usually the case. Like you do the thing you're scared of, and then you realize it wasn't anywhere near as scary as it was, and it's actually a hell of a lot better than maybe you were expecting. So, totally, yeah. I mean, they've even done tests. By the way, I think it's time for a shot, don't you?
It is. I have mine poured, so I'm ready to go.
I have mine poured too. It's just waiting, waiting for an opportunity.
Just staring at me.
3, 2, 1, kanpai.
Tink.
Oh. Yeah, that one bit Lord a little bit more than usual.
Oh my God.
You need to drink some water.
Oh my God. Okay. No, I don't have my Budweiser, unfortunately. I just have water. Today's Chaser is sponsored by Medellin tap water.
Yummy. Yeah.
Yum. Okay, so we talked about travel, survival.
Yeah, we talked about, I think it was basically like saying, okay, what happens when you leave?
Yeah, it's like after school. It's like the after effect post-college.
Yeah, yeah. And we did talk about, debt, and maybe you shouldn't need to get into debt. I think it's difficult because you get a lot of pressure from your parents, perhaps, to actually go through that whole institutional route, which we talked about. And that's tricky because you have such I think you have such a connection with your family that you fall into a certain layer of that hierarchy, and you're either going to follow their orders or
it's very, it's a tough line to walk. Yeah, I can understand, why some parents would want you to go to college and, some parents would want you to not go. But I think the thing I took away most from college, one, was everything I learned under my neuroscience degree that has been beneficial to me in blockchain, and understanding software and being able to build things and create things. And then the other side of it is the people you meet, the connections. Like, yeah, you could stay home and just try to get a job or just try and learn something, and then never have those connections, never have that social circle.
Very true.
That's the one thing about college I like the most is the diversity of the people you meet. Everything from a celebrity's daughter to a famous engineer's son to people that come from nothing to people that come from everything, people that are far left, people that are far right, people that are brilliant, people that are dumb, people that are potheads, people that are straight edge. You meet
like
so many
crowd.
Yeah. Very, very scattered graph of people. And, it rounds out your idea of society and being social, and you learn a lot of skills. And connections you make sometimes become great friends.
True.
Sometimes they lead to great ideas and great business partnerships later on. That's something that's invaluable when you get a whole bunch of smart people together in one place for 4 years.
Yeah, that is a really good argument. And I would agree with you that those are things that are very beneficial in the long run and really help to shape your character so that your decision making and the way that you see things is at times infinitely better. But that's a caveat that, getting rid of that would be a caveat that you would have to decide on at that time. Like, I remember watching a podcast with James Altucher talking about, he was talking to someone who'd been to, I think it was MIT. And he was like, was it worth it? Was it worth the debt that you got into? Or was it worth, all of that shit? And he made the same point, the same argument. And bias or not, it's true. That is a very good argument to make. And I genuinely enjoyed being in university, even though I don't keep in contact with many of the people that I was studying with. I just had a great time, and my character got molded because of it. But genuinely speaking, if your discipline is good, and if your ambition is great, I think you won't have an issue if you're not trying to study something like medicine. And if it's something you can learn in other ways, I think you could really do some damage by getting away from all of that debt and just kind of doing it your own way, being disciplined to go out and meet people in groups and just, I don't know, be very entrepreneurial about the whole thing. But that's saying if you've got those skills already, or if you're confident that you can be committed to the end result. Because if you're not, being in that structure and having that daily routine might actually be the only way for you to get those skills that you get along the way of studying for something else.
Right. It's kind of sad that you have to spend so much money in tuition per year for that kind of social environment,
right?
Which, could be recreated in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's like this glorified summer camp almost.
Right.
That goes on for like 4 years where you're learning and bonding with people. You know, they should have something like that, in my opinion. Well, for 4 years, you're off learning a certain skill or whatever at a reasonable price.
Or Six Flags?
Six Flags or Disneyland. It's not quite the same though. Like there's something very unique about the college experience that will be very hard to kill. But colleges as an institution are going to die very quickly.
Yeah, I hope that there's some kind of, well, there probably is already, but I would like to see a different version of it, which isn't so burdensome on the student.
I'd like to see something like Lambda School, where you go there and you don't pay tuition, and they lower their tuition anyways,
right?
And they teach you the skills you need to know, and then you go off. They help you get a job, or they help you do whatever it is, and then when you hit a certain salary mark, they just take a little off the top until you pay back the tuition. So instead of putting you in debt and saying good luck, they're investing in you. And you know, the more successful students they have, the more people will actually do it and actually show up, would actually take it seriously.
You know, I feel like
that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think we'd find a lot of things like that in Scandinavia, to be fair.
Well, it's not free education necessarily. You still have to pay it back, but it's an investment in the student rather than the student being a Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more forward thinking, I think, is the point you're trying to make. It's like you're recognizing the value of that student's future, and you're not overimposing on them just because of profit. And that's the issue, isn't it? Really, it's out of control.
You know, universities, colleges, hundreds of years ago, anyone could just go if they wanted to, and they could learn a skill as long as it took them. Right. You know, and then by the time they were done, they could work in whatever profession because they learned that skill. They'd meet the standards, you know, and they can make contributions and pay back the college over time. You know, that's completely broken thanks to Rockefeller and
thanks to the oligarchs. Thank you.
Thanks to they founded the modern educational system, especially in America. So Rockefeller and JP Morgan. Built the modern educational system, basically broke the idea of what a college is supposed to be and turned it into a business. Those dudes, which has become institutions.
That's like a whole episode in itself. The Rockefeller, the big families. We could do the big.
We could do an episode on that, on the big families. That'd be pretty fun. Would be
fascinating.
I love studying those guys. I love studying the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Carnegies. The Vanderbilts. There's, especially in America, I know a lot about the Industrial Revolution, and it was a very important time because it shaped modern America today.
Exactly.
Like without those guys, we'd be in a different world.
Right, and that's very interesting to think about. So that should be a different episode where we can kind of talk about what would life have been like. Would it have been fairer? Would it have been better without them, or would it have been worse? So yeah. But I don't know. I don't know about you, but like we've covered quite a bit on this subject, and I don't know. I think it's actually been one of the more practical episodes because we usually talk about things that are more.
We haven't really fucked around on this episode.
No, we really dove into it, and I think it's because it's a very real thing for a lot of people. And
I think this episode, we put in a lot of value. I think there's a lot that you can take away from it regarding, you know, what's like, at least from a few of our experiences in college, you know, things that you'll experience after college, some issues with the college system. You know, I think those are all very valuable things that we definitely talked about. I'd love to share more stories on college, but I mean, they vary widely. They very, very.
Jesus, man. I think the weirdest thing that ever happened to me in university was I had a girlfriend at the time, Spanish girlfriend, beautiful, love her, still talk to her sometimes. And we were in the shower, believe it or not, together. And, you know, this is where it's going to end with the whole intimacy thing. So she went in to get changed, right? And I was still in the shower. And as I was coming out of the shower, I heard this scream from the bedroom. And I was like, oh, okay, she's probably seen a spider, because she usually screamed when she saw a spider. But then I heard it again and I was like, okay, this is not a spider. So I ran to the room and I saw this dude just jumping out the window, like literally leaving the room. So I had a towel around me and I went to the front door, opened it as fast as I could, I sprinted outside, and my towel flew off, right? Because obviously it's not attached very tightly. And I'm running down this. I couldn't give a fuck because I wanted to find this dude. I was determined. And I was running full pelt, like Olympic sprinting down the road, nude, with my whatever flapping around. And I couldn't find him. I just couldn't find him. So I gave up at some point and I started walking back. And I'm totally naked walking down the street, and there's people walking past me. And I don't know if it's because of the culture here. I wouldn't have liked to have been in that situation, let's say in the suburbs of Detroit or something. But yeah, people were just passing by me, kind of whistling, looking at the sky, you know, like as if nothing's happening, right? As if they're not aware of my presence. And I just thought it was really funny. It was a funny social experiment, but at the same time,
I bet it was. And in that moment, Clement realized that he had eaten the mushrooms from his bathroom.
Dude,
none of it was real.
I think I'm gonna really enjoy having mushrooms my first time. I haven't even tried them yet, but it's been something I've heard for a while.
Heard great things about them, especially ayahuasca. It's kind of on my list of things to explore at some points, but not really a fan of the idea of hallucinogens personally. I like control of my own mind, but I think that at some point in your life, it's worth trying, seeing how your mind opens up and how your mind explores that stuff. Because it's not like bad for you. It doesn't hurt you. No. It doesn't destroy your reality and, turn you into a vegetable for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not into drugs, like really. I mean, the only drugs that I would take would be caffeine and alcohol occasionally. So I don't, I'm not into that. But the stories that I've heard from very reputable people about psychedelics make me interested. And I know I'm going to trip. I'm probably going to trip. But it's okay because I just want to know what it's like, and I want to open my mind. And I think that that's the power of those things is just, and we should do an episode actually, we should do them and then we should do an episode on that.
You could do them and the episode at the same time.
Yeah, maybe it would be a very silent, there'd be a lot
we would probably talk for hours and realize we didn't even hit the record button.
Yeah, or the battery would run out or something. But that was the weirdest thing that happened to me in college, in university. What about you? Did you have strange things like that?
A lot of strange things happen in college. I'm trying to think of something that's
well, that wasn't really a college thing. That was more like I was being robbed in my private residence. So that's kind of not a university thing, but it's when I was at university. So
right,
it could have happened whenever.
Right. Let me think for a second.
Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to have, and this is one of the cool things about being young in a group of strangers all doing the same thing. It's like there's an unlimited potential for, malarkey, for shenanigans. And, and it's great because you never know when the next one's going to happen. So the chances are, very high that there's something going to happen at some point in the next few days that you're all going to be able to laugh about the next morning. And I think the Foo Fighters were doing a concert in London, and they ended up back at the home of my friend, and he had a house party, and they just kind of walked in, and they were like, "Nice, hey, we're the Foo Fighters," and just like kind of like everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And then they left.
There's a game we used to play in college on the weekend. So if we didn't want to go to the parties and we still wanted to drink, we would say, "Okay, let's not go to the parties this weekend. Let's play a game. We'll play Fugitive." essentially how a fugitive works is you split up a group of people into 2 even groups. You have half the group start in the middle of the 5 colleges. And then you have the other half of the group start at one side, and their goal is to make it to the other side to a target destination. And the group in the middle of the colleges, their job is to catch you as if they were the police.
Right.
And this is fun to do after you've had a lot to drink on a Friday evening or Saturday evening, where you're sprinting and planning and scheming with your friends how to get like from one side of all the 5 colleges to the complete other side of the other 5 colleges, while people are chasing you with flashlights and bottles and trying to tackle you. And in front of everybody, and everyone's like always trying to figure out like, what are they doing? Like, what's going on? And you just have people just like, there he is, get him. They're chasing you down campus, like tackling you in front of a dining hall.
That's cool, man. I like it.
There's some fun campus games you can play.
Really fun.
Some of the parties are pretty wild too.
Dude.
There's a lot of dorm parties, a lot of pre-games. But I mean, the big parties are wild. We had a foam party where they filled up this courtyard completely full with foam. And
courtyard? You filled up a courtyard with foam?
A courtyard just filled up with foam.
What?
And
it sounds like a big
sometimes place. Sometimes you go into the foam. Sometimes people don't come out of the foam. You go into the foam with all your friends, and then you come out of the foam and you don't know where any of your friends are. You lose your stuff sometimes in the foam. You meet people in the foam, and people are partying and dancing and drinking in the foam. You literally can't see anything. It's like way above your head.
Oh, I never had a foam party, man. I feel very left out now.
So many people get sick after the foam parties, though, because so much weird. Yeah, well, everyone's fucking in there, and soap flying around everywhere. Everyone's doing all kinds of weird things in the foam, trying to hook up with people in the foam. People are trying to steal shit from you in the foam. It's like no man's land. It's crazy. It's like a party. It's not even like a party. It's just like a punishment.
All right. Well, I don't miss it so much now. But
I don't know. It's a weird experience, but the foam parties were pretty crazy. We had another party called Pirate Party. Pirate Party is an all-day event, an all-day party.
Whoa. Across
all the colleges, and they set up all these things you can do all day long. You do nothing but hang out, dance, drink. The idea is to drink from the point you wake up to the point you wake up the next morning.
Oh, that sounds like a college party for sure, man. I think we did a few.
Yeah.
Just all day benders. But yours seems to have had activities. Ours was literally just drinking.
You wake up at 6 a.m., you start drinking at breakfast, you drink throughout the day, you're partying all day.
It reminds me of quarantine. I'm joking.
Yeah, except people are throwing Holly at everybody, and you're on jungle gyms bouncing around.
Did you have
dancing
Did you have any proper girlfriends during that time? Like really serious relationships?
No, it's impossible in college.
Yeah, I would say another college survival tip is don't have a real, like a proper relationship during college, because you're too young and there's you know what? It's not the right time to do that. I think afterwards is a great time to have a relationship, but during college, you're going to miss out on a lot of good shit. So
girls are incredibly scandalous in college, and men are making the rounds. So it's not a good time for people.
It's just a really good time. It's like a sandbox, isn't it? It's almost like you've been given.
It's a sandbox. It's a chemical sandbox.
Biological, chemical.
There's a lot of chemistry going on. There's a lot of people getting burns.
Yeah.
It's people learn a lot of things in that situation. It's a giant petri dish for social dynamics and relationships, but not recommending people get a relationship in college, because I'm telling you, girls are scandalous. They'll find a new guy. Guys are, making the rounds
too. They'll find a new girl.
They'll find a new girl. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
People like to be crazy and explore in college. They don't want to be tied down.
It's all a learning curve, I guess, but
it burns you out. You get out, once you get out of college, you're burnt out. You're done. You don't want to party ever again. And if you party,
that is so
it's more
true.
reasonable.
Yeah, it's so true, man. You're done. You're done. In fact, it probably forces you into a relationship so that you have to fucking settle down. And it did for me.
I know. And, I have to say, for people that, are out of college and they're going to raves and giant concert type events like that all the time,
they're nuts,
especially multiple times a year. Stop doing that. My God.
They're psycho.
And they're the ones all the time bitching about how they don't know what to do after college and how they don't have enough money. You spent fucking $1,000 to go to Coachella.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. By the way, I'm going to take another shot right now. Feeling the buzz.
Oh, shit. All right. Here we go.
You're on 13%, man. I'm on 43.
I know, but it's the taste. I'm not getting drunk. It's the taste. It's very fishy.
I must admit, there's a buzz coming on for me.
I'm gonna have to get
There's something about whiskey. Whiskey really hits you hard, I think.
It can. So does tequila.
Tequila, whiskey, vodka, not so much for me, but gin definitely not so much.
Rum's kind of nice to just sip on.
Yeah, rum doesn't hit me that hard either. I think it's really whiskey and tequila that hit me the hardest.
Yeah. You, me, and tequila. All right. Three, two, one. Tink.
Holy moly. Oh,
like someone took a white wine and put it in a fish tank and then scooped it out and then put it in a bottle and named it sake.
Like someone took petroleum and then put some flavorings in it. And that's what I'm drinking.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. 3%, bro.
My palate's destroyed. Jesus. Okay.
You were saying, what was I about to say?
I was talking about Coachella.
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. The way that I see it is the more in touch you are with where you want to be in life, the more focused and directed you're going to be. So if we encounter people that are just partying around, don't know what to do, the chances are they haven't spent that much time thinking about what they really want to do in life. And that's a handicap. Like if you don't put the time aside and really kind of boil it down, like what do you enjoy, or what are you good at as well? And all those kinds of important questions, and you really spend time. I think people underestimate how important it is to just put some time aside and really think it out properly.
Right.
They go by the seat of their pants and then they end up places they don't want to be, and then they blame the world for it. But really, in reality, it could be that they just didn't spend enough time thinking about what they really wanted to do. And once you realize what it is, or at least an idea of where you want to go, I think things become a lot easier and you start to become
just decisions that people make sometimes. Like, I don't understand why people are bitching when they're part of the reason they're putting themselves they're in a bad situation. Yeah. Like, especially when they're constantly going to raves and concerts and things like that, the big ones, and wasting tons of money on it. It's like, or you're getting a free stimulus check in the mail. What are you doing with it? Buying more toilet paper? Or if you have free money, do you really just let it sit in a savings account, or do you invest it? Like, what do you do when you have options?
Yeah, I saw a video recently. I'm not sure if it's real or if it was just a fake, because you know how people create these videos for fun.
Sure.
But there was a woman, an American woman, got in her car. She had the phone on her dashboard recording, and she was like, check out my check. I got my check. I cashed my check. She's got like all these dollar bills in her hand, and she's fanning them out in front of the camera. And then the window's down, and some hand just comes straight in and grabs the cash. And she's like, shit. No fucking way. He just took my money. And then she gets up.
People better be careful with those stimulus checks. Some of those are loans.
What do you mean?
Like, they're loans, like from banks. Like some of those $1,200 stimulus checks you get in the mail, like most of them are actually loans. Like you have to pay it back. It's not free money. That's the big misconception here too. And a lot of people are taking that free money and they're spending it on, shit they really don't need, or just wasting it. You're creating debt.
You're saying the stimulus checks are they're actually loans?
Some of these, yeah.
What do you mean?
That's what I've been seeing. I'll send you some stuff on it.
Oh, is it state by state?
Yeah, well, some people are getting these checks and they're taking pictures of it, and it says, that it's a loan.
Oh, fuck. So there's actually companies.
Yeah, and there's an interest. Yeah, and there's an interest rate on it and everything.
Oh, that is so sly. Oh my God, that's so sly.
These banks are fucking evil.
That is fucked up. Nah, that is so fucked up. Oh my God, that should be illegal.
I'll send you some stuff on it. Like, I'm not sure about all the checks, but I mean, some of these $1,200 stimulus checks in the US are loans coming from a bank.
That is so ridiculous. Fucked up.
I know. And if that's really the case and that's really happening on a mass scale, especially in the US, that's going to end so badly for people, especially now that we're in a recession.
Yeah. That sucks, man. And that's you know what that is? I feel that that's a lack of moderation. I think that the government should not be letting the banks do that because that is not morally acceptable in society.
Well, they shouldn't be printing trillions of dollars and injecting it to the economy via the banks
too. Yeah.
I don't think they're doing anything right at this point. I think at this point they're just saying, fuck it, let's print more money. Why not?
Yeah, it's just see what happens. Well, at the end of the day, I don't see any other way though. That's the only thing they can do if we let anyway, we're getting into, you know what? We always do this. We always start another subject. Yeah, but this is a totally,
as long as we're consistent with not being consistent, I think we're okay.
True. But we covered a lot, man. This was a good episode. 2 hours almost. We've hit a new record.
Yeah, this was a fun episode. We talked about everything from marching ants to wild mushrooms in the shower to fucking stimulus checks and Coachella.
Down street naked.
We're down the street naked. We covered a lot about college. I think there's some things people can take away. I think we're good. Anything else?
I think that we've given people hopefully what they wanted when they clicked on the link. So I am happy.
I gave you guys my sake reaction too. I'm not buying sake again. I'm not going to drink a fish.
You don't like sake? What? No. Maybe this is just a bad brand for some reason. You know what? I think it's a bad brand because there's some really nice sake out there. And
I'm going to put this on some ice and see if it tastes any better. And
here's the thing.
And I'm also going to heat it up.
Put it in the microwave.
Well, let me finish, Sir Clements. Let me finish. Okay. I have recommended serving temperatures. I'm going to try this chilled on some ice.
Okay.
And it also recommends it warm at 105 to 115 Fahrenheit. So I'm going to try and heat this up.
Okay.
I don't know what that's going to taste like, but right now I'm drinking it at room temperature. And
if you drink it at the warmer temperature that it recommends, you're going to get drunk faster. Because it's just going to go straight into your bloodstream.
If I'm going to have a fishy taste in my mouth, I better be drunk.
Right. But bro, yeah, we'll try some good sake at some point, but,
we will. We'll try. Well, we try some good stuff every week, so I'm sure we'll get around to it. Hopefully the liquor stores open up soon so I can get a different or a wider diversity.
Oh, tell me about it. I can't get anything in these supermarkets, so it's.
Well, you said that sake was all sold out.
Yeah,
like Bacardi.
Bacardi was sold out. There was no sake at all. It wasn't even sold out. They just weren't stocking it.
What's left? Smirnoff?
No, let's not go down that road. There's a few different things we can get. But obviously, I'm incredibly limited, and so are you. So, but me even more so. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can open these stores again.
Well,
I might be able to come in online.
We can make it to episode 10. Maybe we can do like a wine.
Yeah. Absolutely. We shouldn't limit ourselves to just hard liquor.
No, absolutely. We can take shots of wine. We can take shots of champagne.
We can take shots of beer.
As long as we're taking shots, yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great loophole you just found in this show. Oh, my God.
I know. I'm so happy. So, guys, if there's any kind of alcoholic beverage you'd like us to try, that you'd like us to take a shot of, it doesn't have to be, hard liquor. It could be wine, it could be a beer, it could be a champagne. Let us know. Let us know. And we'd be happy to put it on the list of things to try. Because do you really want to see us just take shots of hard liquor all the time? Yeah. Or do you want us to mix it up? Yeah. We want your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, if you have any feedback on the show, let us know. We need to hear from our audience, but we hope you enjoyed it. And this has been a great experience. This has been a great episode so far. So very happy with this.
Yeah. If you guys are loving this podcast, feel free to leave a good review, leave a comment or a like, support us. If you don't really like it, fuck off. I'm kidding. We love you guys too. We love all our haters. If we have any, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back and forth with the comments.